This week's parsha, Matot Masei, is the second to last possible double parsha that can occur in a given year. As mentioned by the previous possible double parshas, it is not just any two parshas that can be doubled up and read together. There needs to be a reason for specifically joining two given parshas together. So what makes our two parshas, Matot and Masei, an attractive and compelling candidate to double up? Rachamim Sar Shalom, the noted longtime Israeli educator and expert on the Jewish calendar, says that historically Matot and Masei were actually one long parsha that was split and read over two Shabbatot when needed. Since today we do not sometimes split parshas as was customary in some places in the past, we officially split in advance the massive parsha Matot into two distinct parshas, Matot and Masei. As such, if there is a need to have a double parsha, then Rachamim Sar Shalom says the first one we should even try to join together is Matot and Masei, as they were once one long parsha in the past, even if it means to skip doubling up other possible double parshas that come before. As a Balkari, I find this explanation quite interesting. However, it still deals more with the what or historical rather than the why, and it is the why that we are trying to understand. Why do these two parshas belong together? To try to answer this question, we need to look at the main topics of each parsha to see how or if they correspond or complement each other. In Parshat Matot, after discussing the importance of vows and how it can impact on family relations, specifically between a husband and wife or a father and daughter, the Torah tells us that Israel went to war with Midian in revenge for damaging God's relationship with Israel. Thankfully, Pinchas helped to restore it, but the damage had been done, with 24,000 people dead. In the aftermath of the war, Israel divided up the spoils. Besides for the material that was taken, there were also huge swaths of land now empty after Israel had completely conquered the area, and it was perfect land for grazing animals. As such, the tribes of Reuven, Gad, and half of Manasseh wanted to settle on the eastern side of the Jordan to make sure that they had room for the huge number of animals that they owned. To guarantee that these tribes helped in the war and settlement effort, however, Moshe made them vow that they would spearhead the efforts to conquer the land on the western side of the Jordan, where the bulk of Israel will live. This deal that they made with Moshe essentially addressed two ideas, vows and dividing up the land. Parshat Masei starts with a recap of Israel's journey and travel in the desert from Egypt to the Promised Land. Now that they were able to enter the land, God warned Israel that they need to follow through on completely conquering it. Otherwise, what he had planned for the current inhabitants will instead happen to them. Since they were on the edge of the land, God fully delineated its exact borders. Once the land was mapped out and apportioned, the Levites would be able to set up their cities, 48 around Israel, with 6 also doubling as cities of refuge. And finally, now that the land was defined and tangible, the members of the tribe of Manasseh raised an issue with Moshe. Since Tzlafchad's daughters had received tribal land, if they would marry men from other tribes, then the land that they had received could potentially end up being transferred from Manasseh's portion to other tribes, thereby ruining their tribal land integrity. So the major themes in Masei are dividing up the land and following through on one's words. So we see that while each parsha has its own unique concerns, the two parshas overall deal with similar central themes. The first is about the importance of keeping one's word. This can be expressed in a vow or as an undertaking to do something, and making sure to carry it through to fruition. The other theme is all about dividing up the land. Apportioning it was easy. Once it was done, however, Israel needed to set up a proper framework that could deal with any and all issues that could come up and be taken care of. So we see from the central themes that these two parshas really are matched and truly do belong together. Shabbat Shalom.